Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us a returning guest, my dear friend. He's the host of either Normal World or Normal World on the Blaze. It is Dave Landau. Dave, I didn't even think of anything that we were going to talk about, but I knew we were going to have a lot of fun and make each other laugh, possibly to the annoyance of the audience, which makes me laugh even more.
Yeah, when they get pissed about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I hate it when that happens. I am curious to before we get to the thoughts, I want to talk to you about the election and Trump's cabinet picks,
Yeah.
but I want to get your professional comedian take. I have this hypothesis that if corporate comics like Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel did their job and made more fun of Biden during the last 4 years because the comedic possibilities were endless, the Democrats would have been in a lot better position going into 2024. What do you think?
Absolutely. Becoming humorless about it was probably their biggest problem. I mean, it was the same as her not doing Rogan's show, or at least trying to make all these demands after, wanting to be on it. And I think when you look at the late night hosts, like Jimmy Kimmel shouldn't be crying. Like I remember when that show came out and it was
Oh, I disagree. Jimmy Kimmel should be crying.
well,
Like, no matter what the situation is, I want him crying.
yeah, the new Jimmy Kimmel is crying, but the one from the Man Show, like when that show
Right.
came out in 2003, when it was with Snoop Dogg, like I remember being in a fraternity and everybody was gathered around to watch it. And now the same dude is bawling his eyes out 20 years later because a candidate didn't win. It's irrational, and I think you see the same with
Did you
SNL.
did you say Canada?
No, I don't
You
think
said
so.
because Canada didn't win, and I'm like, that's kind of true.
Oh yeah, maybe I meant to say Kamala, and I just I slipped. I just assumed we'd become Canada. What a Freudian slip.
But it was perfect because it still works.
Yes. But yeah, dude, it's been bad with that late night was something fun. Like it really should be political, but it should aim at both people. The same as SNL, the same as anything, dude. It's been bad.
I don't think it even has to aim at both people. I think I can make, let's steelman this. I can make the argument that I know people's heads are going to explode. Calm down. Just hear me out for 2 seconds. If I'm a lefty, I can make the argument that Biden is infinitely better in the White House than Trump. Okay, fine. Point being, that doesn't mean there isn't crap to make fun of him about. You could still think this guy's a better president and still make fun of all sorts of things about him and his effing son.
Oh, of course. And well, you should make fun of who's in power. And if you're not
Yes,
making fun of who's in power, it doesn't make any sense. Like they're making fun of the 4 years prior to
right.
that. And that to me didn't work at all.
Yeah, I really was very proud of myself, and I'm gonna keep patting myself on the back about this as much as I can, that when I went on Rogan to, shortly after she was announced as the candidate, I'm like, "This is an opportunity to clown this hoe and define her in my little way, before she has a chance to do it herself." And it was really, uh, this autopsy of what they did is so bizarre. I heard, and I mentioned this on a previous episode of the show, that they wanted an open primary, and it was Biden who said, "Screw you if you force me off the ticket. I'm forcing her as the nominee," and then they had nothing they could do about it.
Which doesn't make is that legal? Is that okay? Like
I mean,
what
what if the president says this is my pick for my successor, and he controls all the delegates? Yeah, it's legal. Of course, it's legal.
but what if it's not his successor? It's just somebody he's still in office. I guess I'm confused by the whole thing.
How so?
I don't understand how she became the candidate without there being a vote or
Well, you know how the president isn't elected by the people, but by the electoral college?
yes.
Well, first of all, the party's a private institution, so they could do whatever the hell they want, right? They
Okay.
could just, it's only in the 70s when you had primaries and caucuses. Before that, basically, like each state had their own delegates and there's a lot of smoke filled rooms.
Right.
But the idea is those delegates, I think, are legally bound to support who they're pledged to vote for. But if that person is no longer the candidate, it's up for grabs. But they're still his delegates.
Okay, I see. That makes sense.
So, but it's still a very stupid process because there was not really when you have an incumbent president who ran against the Marianne Williamson and that other congressperson, it really didn't reflect the Democratic base in terms of, okay, if Biden drops out, who's your plan B? And that's a very legitimate question to ask. And they didn't have that answer. It wouldn't have been her. We know it wasn't her because she didn't come in second in 2020. She didn't
Oh,
even make
no.
Iowa.
No, yeah, it would exactly. I think they would have gone for Newsom or somebody else in a heartbeat over
Of
her.
course. So I want to hear your thoughts on like where you were in election day. Did you think how'd you think it was going to play out? And were you surprised by the result?
I was interviewing people in Detroit. So I was
Okay.
there with a guy named Charlie LaDuff, who's a author and a writer, and we were doing an interview downtown at the Coney Island. So I was interviewing people all day, but it was my style of interview. Like I went outside of Trump Strip Club, which is spelled with two P's, and I acted confused that I didn't realize it wasn't his home base. And then I just asked different people, and I mean, I went up to everybody, and for the most part, what broke down was, for the most part, people wanted to see like peace. They were just tired of everything being an absolute war between races, between like just the divide. And this was, and I talked to mostly black people in Detroit, believe it or not. But it ended up being it ended up being interesting to have conversations with various people, and then the ones who really really hated Trump were very very white, like just lily white, over the top gay. It made for some good clips, but the ones who really wanted to just see everything calm down was largely the every black person I talked to, just
It
tired of
it you know, I did 2 books with D.L. Hughley, and I learned a lot from him, and I think he's a great person and just really taught me a lot, and one of the things that I had thought of prior, but really saw working with him and his people, is that white people are a lot more despite, like, Joanne Reed, like man on the street, they're a lot more sensitive to racism than people who actually have to experience it.
it.
Because if you have to deal with literal racism and someone makes a joke you don't like, you know the difference between that and someone who thinks you're like a piece of crap who shouldn't be part of America.
No, it's
So
true.
this whole thing about Trump's a racist really works for college educated whites. But
Yes.
like for black people, it's like, yeah, this guy's just a loudmouth asshole at worst, but it's not the same as someone who has some kind of animus because he's never even spoken out like in dog whistles or anything about the black community.
No, I would say it's the opposite.
Right.
The problem is to them, they worry about a lot of the supporters voting purely on skin. And I mean, that's
Yes.
going to always be that way. And they have the right to feel that way. I mean, people can argue all day with me about that, but that's their main issue. So if you're constantly being told by every news source that he is doing these things, eventually you're going to start kind of feeling that way. And it is definitely the white college elites. They were the same people that had a problem with me being on Anthony's show, the same problem with me, which I mean, like this is 6 years ago, not now, but it's the same people that have always had an issue with me. It's these always very educated whites who are standing up for the smaller person, and I find it to be racist in and of itself.
Well, go on, please expound.
I think that you white knighting for every single black person and making their decision for you is
Yeah.
fucking pathetic. I mean, that's what I feel about it. Like, you don't speak for them, you don't speak for any. And I think people are individual too. Like, I understand it's a mass thing where everybody turns red, but that's not the truth about every state. I mean, everything is, each individual person has their own feelings, their own rights. So for you to stand up and tell you how all black people should feel as a white person who's never really experienced that in America, I don't think that it makes any sense.
Yeah. It's this was I mean, this not only was this was a big loss for the Democratic Party, not that huge of a loss because they still have, a lot of senators, a lot of House people. Let's have some perspective, and they've been around for a minute. But I think it was a big loss for the people you talk about, these highly educated, marginally intelligent, often highly mentally ill, white women, especially, because they've really silenced themselves. No one doesn't think they're bullshit anymore. And it's going to be what are they going to put on a second pussy hat? It's going to be a rough, at least 2 years for them.
Yes. Yeah, I think they're just hoping there's some other form of insurrection. I don't know. Somehow unpeacefully taking over the office. Yeah, I really have no idea what they're praying for at this point. It's
Did you
very.
did you see that Jill Biden wore red on election day?
I think she voted for Trump.
I tweeted out, and I believe this, that Biden wrote in his own name.
He probably did, but it probably looked like, that
Look like it
autograph
says
you
Trump.
showed me before we got on, just a shaky
And
they probably weren't
did you
even sure.
see, and we could add in the clip here, did you see when, there was an event at the White House and Kamala and Jill Biden wouldn't even look at each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he hates her.
Of course.
I think he's hated her since she called him a racist because, she was right. So I think it's been makes sense.
Um, what do you I'm curious to hear your thoughts as to, all the cabinet picks.
Well, I did a tour with RFK Jr., actually, a comedy tour with that,
Can you do his impression of him?
can I do one? I'm actually writing a sketch right now where it's RF Bain Jr., which I'm gonna tape Wednesday. So I'm trying to get the voice of Bane and RFK,
Are
so I
you
can
gonna do the accent?
a little bit. Like I'm trying to figure out how to get it to be like it's gotta be very and strange, but also Bane. I'm going to take you. I am your McReckoning. Just sort of that. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do Bane and him, so I can have a reoccurring character of RF Bane Jr.
Did you get the are you gonna get the mask?
Oh, I already ordered it. It's coming today.
Yeah, no one cared who you were until you put that on.
Yeah. It's well, because Bane is very like Bane is just it's very goofy and very much like that, and then it's almost like Sean Connery. And then
Isn't it
with
like I think it's more like Patrick Stewart, no?
there's definitely Patrick Stewart in there. Yeah. It's just a very raspy Stewart, I guess, would be a good point. So I just have to figure out how to make it more like difficult to talk version of
It
Bane.
also doesn't really make sense why Bane talks like that. Like,
No.
he's not like from the Victorian era.
Dude, there's a scene in that movie where he's climbing up completely. His face isn't like that, right? And like 10 prisoners grab him and drag him back down. So, what happened to his face with those 10 prisoners? Like, was it just a line of dicks until it just became that voice, busted out teeth? Like the whole scene always makes me laugh because it's the only thing that could have happened was like they all just grabbed him and put him in like a rape line until his face required a holster
Uh, oh
to
god.
keep his teeth in. There's his mouth together. You don't even know if he has teeth. He could drink everything through a straw. I mean, he's built. He's got to have some protein.
Well, protein shakes, yeah, it's a straw.
Yeah. So I mean, he's getting food somehow, but but he also can't breathe, and his whole face is covered. I think some shameful things happened to Bane
Do
down in that hole.
Folks, traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat, which can lead to acne, to allergies, to stuffy noses, and it is gross. Miracle Made offers a full line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. They're infused with silver, and that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, which leaves them staying cleaner and fresher 3 times longer. No more gross odors. And by using these silver infused fabrics, which were inspired by NASA, the Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long so you get better sleep every night. They're very comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Miracle Made sheets are designed for your skin. Bacteria can clog your pores. It causes breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Here's all you got to do. Go to trymiracle.com/malice to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo Malice at checkout, you get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you aren't 100% satisfied, full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/malice. Use code malice to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/malice to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the show. Well, speaking of Bane, are you as hopeful or as expectant um, as I am? I'm hopeful. I'm not expecting this. that Trump is gonna go on this insane retribution, military tribunals, QAnon was right all along tour?
I don't know, it's tough to say. It could be I don't know, honestly, I'm more hopeful than I would say he's definitely going to do it, but there is a chance, like a pretty good chance. So I'd like to see it personally, but also I'm a little scared right now because I'm trying to figure out like the World War III element that Biden's kind of trying to pull off.
Yeah.
And you know more about that than probably anybody really that I know. But everything that I'm trying to read and
Wait,
figure
hold
out.
on, that's a testament to your crowd, not to my knowledge. Let's
Oh,
be fair. Let's put some perspective here.
listen, my crowd likes a good dick joke, and that's about it. It's not so much
Yeah,
foreign
a
affairs.
mouth rape dick joke,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm a little. It seems like there's this idea of creating World War III and then being like, "Here's your presidency."
I would buy into that if that Wednesday meeting didn't happen like it did. First of all, Biden didn't have to have the meeting at all.
True.
Second of all, he was all smiles, right? I really don't think I think Biden has that really old school thing about, okay, Trump won. Who cares what we all said? That's all part of the game. Like, let's have this be as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
And I also I've said this before in the show. I'm crediting the media, which I never do. They prepped their people for a Trump victory. This wasn't some traumatic, no one saw this coming 2016 situation. So although they're freaking out a little bit, they're more depressed and calm than having this kind of break with reality that they're in full blown foaming at the mouth TDS for the next few years. So I think Biden has a bit of sense of responsibility that let's hand this off as easily and smoothly as I can. Because that's the whole tradition. The White House is whoever's the outgoing president leaves a note in like the Resolute desk for the guy who picks up. I know Bush did it for Clinton. Clinton did for W. Like this is a thing.
Hmm. No, that adds up. I mean, the real shame is that I can't fuck Whoopi Goldberg
What? What? Why not?
because she has decided to put on the stance of no sex for
No.
the Trump presidency. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg came out and said that she's going on a sex strike,
I'm going to
which I guess.
defend Whoopi a little bit
Okay, is it
because
Jumpin' Jack Flash?
no, it's the Friars Club.
Oh, she's got comedy talent.
So, for people who don't know, the Friars Club roasts was the it's you roast somebody, but it's supposed to be the most below the belt, offensive, outrageous stuff that people are clutching pearls and passing out like if it was in a movie.
Yes.
And Whoopi Goldberg took her boyfriend Ted Danson.
Oh, I know.
The audience, I'm just talking to the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Put him in blackface, and she wrote all his material. And I'm 99% sure they're N bombs. The reason I brought it up is he said having sex with an N is like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. That's where that comes from. And she's sitting there on the dais, peeing her pants, laughing. Montel Williams was so butthurt, he stormed out. I remember this vividly. Like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's like, she wrote it. She's right there. Calm down. This is the Friars Club. This isn't the Oval Office. This isn't the State of the Union. This is the one place it's supposed to happen.
Well, you're also hearing it and looking at Al Jolson, so it's a bit shocking to the system, I'm sure.
So she has her moments, and she has her moments where she goes against the leftist orthodoxy. But did she say this as a joke?
No, she was serious. I mean, I think she wanted people to take her seriously. It's just the view. I mean, but it's like you said, the way that everybody was prepped, the reaction was almost like we should blame ourselves. What was crazy is actually to bring you back to your first question is late night overreacted more than the View did, more than like CNN did. Like there was a lot of people, like even Morning Joe was like, there's something to learn here. And they couldn't be put on air after Trump got shot because they couldn't control what they said. Like even they were able to tame it, but late night couldn't. Late night comics couldn't.
What were some examples? I'm not. I'm totally divorced from that world.
From the late night comics.
Yeah.
Well, you just had Kimmel crying, and then you had basically Colbert do a requiem at the beginning of his show right after it happened, and it was just all flat and all very stoic, where it
You know,
shouldn't
you know,
it shouldn't
I feel
matter.
bad for Colbert's what's the term? Is it a priest in who takes your confession?
Yeah.
I feel bad because you know that when he sees Steven coming into the kneeler, he's like, "Oh god, this poof again."
Yeah,
And
so
Colbert's there for hours because of all the guilt and blood on his because he knows Colbert is a very bright man. For people who don't believe me, go look at Stranger with Candy, go watch the
yeah.
Colbert Report on Comedy Central. The guy is bright. He knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot, which makes it evil as opposed to like someone just going with the flow. He knows better, and he's supposedly religious.
He is.
So
Well, I remember reading a Rolling Stone article, I want to say it was years ago, and it was right when he was getting the Colbert Report. And the reason why he said he could relate so much to it is because he wasn't really conservative, but he wasn't liberal either. And he had faith in God, so he kind of knew how to lampoon it and those parts of himself. And he did brilliantly.
yeah.
And now that it's turned into this, I don't understand it because he does still hold a lot of those like religious morals. And I would assume he would have a lot more people that are on the right if he kind of just did it like he did on Comedy Central. Because the way that he just lampooned Bill O'Reilly and all
Yeah.
those people was perfect. I mean, from the eagle flying across the screen to start to every time he introduced his guest, he would walk out to get the applause. It was funny every time, and he did it every night.
Yeah, right. So I don't I have trouble like I can understand this kind of lefty religious idea of Jesus wants everyone to have immigrants come in. Like I understand that kind of perversion of Christianity, if that's what someone believes. But again, he's Catholic. He knows it, and I don't know how he sleeps at night because the whole point of faith is when you're gone, all that money's not going to do anything for you. You have to meet your maker and face your judgment, and you can't really hide much because they've got that ledger. So I don't know how he sleeps at night. Like he's really, I think, by far the most evil of all of them.
I do too, and it's a shame. Like it was from the. I mean, and we probably talked about it before, but it was from the dancing vax needles to
Yeah,
pushing Pfizer. I mean, you were pushing out stuff like the tobacco companies did for Milton Berle. You were just. It was completely. It was the worst form of whoring out I've ever seen
right.
of a late night show, and to take over for Letterman, who was almost he started that entire like us versus the suits mentality, and Conan, I would say, improved upon it in a lot of ways. But that's what that show was about, was like us doing whatever we want and kind of getting away with it. And now it's
Yes.
him lockstepping to corporate America.
Yeah. So people who don't remember this, because Dave and I are dinosaurs in our Golden Girls era, Letterman, they had the Tomorrow Show, I guess, with Tom Snyder was first. But you had Carson, and then you go to bed because it's already like 12 o'clock. Like people are staying up for Johnny, maybe the monologue. If it's a good guest, you sit through it. But after that, I got work in the morning. So Letterman's audience was like college kids and the unemployable and completely pariahs. So he's
Yes.
like, we're just gonna have this be a sideshow. The early seasons were just completely crazy. That's where Andy Kaufman pulled his stunts,
Yes.
and my mentor Harvey Picar made his mark on late night because this also happened when I was on Red Eye on Fox, which was I think 3 a.m. The idea was no one's watching this shit, even executives. So let's just have a free for all, and you would see stuff that you wouldn't see anywhere else. Now Letterman, later toned it down to some extent, and he really
When you went to an earlier time, so he kind of had to.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And he really became a hack when he was helping Hillary get elected in 2000 in the Senate in New York State. And he did some shenanigans with her, but it
Yeah.
was nothing like it is now. They made fun of Clinton relentlessly. Even if didn't make
Mhm.
fun of maybe necessarily his policies, you're still making fun of the guy. Fine. Say Biden's policies are the best. You have a senile, a president with a crackhead son. What, you got no jokes?
No, and you have daily clips of him flubbing very easy words, like one syllable words. I mean, there's videos of him introducing himself to a curtain, taking questions from people that aren't there. Like, you have to be able to find fodder in that, especially a team of writers, because a lot of them turned in stuff that was probably brilliant and was shot down immediately.
Did you see over the weekend that Biden just wandered into the Amazon?
Did he really?
You didn't see this?
No, I haven't seen it.
We'll put up the clip. He had a press conference. I don't know where it was. There's a podium. He's dressed in like not literally khakis, but that kind of style. It was like blue though,
Yeah, like
but that kind of
Safari.
yeah, safari. and he just turns around and wanders into the woods. It was I wonder if he might still be there. I don't It's not like he's been doing anything for the last, few months.
No, he just gets picked up by like several birds or just like snakes.
So, are
That's
you,
great.
like, I wanna hear your thought. What do you think about, like, Tulsi and I had a great tweet that I didn't send because I have too many I know this person, and I have too many friends in common. Because I don't know if you saw this, but Pete Hegseth has a lot of tattoos. One is the Jerusalem cross, and they were making it out to be, "Oh, this is an Iron Cross, this is white supremacy," so all this other nonsense, like when
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman saw those, like, surveyor marks on the floor, and she thought they were swastikas. It's like, "Bitch, shouldn't you, Miss Silverman, really know what a swastika is? Because you're in trouble. You're a loudmouth Jewish lady." Um, and the line I had was, "We know that Pete Hegseth isn't a white nationalist because he only beats up assaults white women." But I'm curious to hear your thoughts about these picks because they seem comedy ready.
Oh, I think every one of them will be. I mean, who do you want to start with? That one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, if I got to go down the list, I got to look it up because I don't remember everybody's for
We got
every.
Hegseth, we got Tulsi for national intelligence.
Well, Tulsi, I just met. So
Okay.
about her, I can say I met her on Gutfeld, and usually I just judge somebody by being nice and their humor. And when we were on the show and they aired it, she was saying she was put on a no fly list by Kamala,
Yeah.
TSA no fly list, and I said, "Oh, that's cool." The
Well, I
only
don't think it
list,
was a no-fly list. I think it was more like a, check this bitch list.
yeah, I shouldn't say no fly. It was a
Yeah.
terrorist watch list that she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
put on. I take that back. Yeah. And I said, "That's cool. The only list that I'm on makes me introduce myself to my neighbors." And she laughed really hard. And so, if you're willing to kind of laugh at that and yourself, even right before something so important that you probably already know is going to happen, I have a lot of respect for that. And if I put up the clips, I've noticed a lot of people calling her a Russian asset and that sort of. And I don't buy that or understand that. So for her, I mean, and I think she'll be able to take a joke.
One of the, one of my trolls that went wide was, about her because people might not remember this, but she sued Hillary for slander, or I think it was slander, because Hillary called her Russian asset.
Yeah.
And I photoshopped the PDF to say, Ms. Gabbard has not and does not have any thoughts of suicide. And it went wide. Oh my God, it's in the lawsuit.
It was in the lawsuit.
No, I
Oh, that's
photoshopped it,
funny.
but I said, look what's
Oh,
in the
good.
lawsuit. And they're like, oh my God. So that was really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, it's
She
because Hillary has killed so many people.
Yeah, or driven the yeah.
Allegedly.
Chelsea's very, uh, 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 she's got presence.
Yeah. She's smart. She understands what she's talking about. She's funny. She's likable. I think a lot of people didn't know what to think about her until what was that? Like, was it the last election when she first came out? Trying to think of when she.
Yeah, but she was nuking the pig, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was the last election. And that's when I remember I first saw her and I was impressed. But actually meeting her, I'm like, I think it's cool to have somebody like that. And
I
it,
just met in person, people don't realize she's pretty, like, I don't wanna say big because it makes it sound like a fatty, but she just basically she's in the room.
oh yeah, she's taller than me for sure. I mean, not that
That's
that's
not saying
saying
much.
anything. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she's definitely, yeah, she is a presence.
I'm also curious your thought this is the one that threw me for a loop. Um, Gates for attorney general.
Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, I guess I don't get. I find him very slimy.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not a big fan of his. And maybe he'll do a job, but he's another one of those people that just reminds me of Patrick Bateman, where I can
Oh,
see him
yeah.
banging a hooker and flexing in a mirror. Like I just don't. He's not my favorite. No, I've never really liked him.
I hear what you're saying, but the thing that I am hopeful for is he seems to be a really and this is me talking, really, really, really petty bitch, and if he's gonna be in that attorney general's office and going for retribution, I am very excited about that possibility.
Oh, I think he will be. I mean, he's a guy who has talked some really good shit too on,
Yes.
and I have to, props. So there's definitely some stuff that I think he might change my mind on that.
Yeah, I the thing is if you try to kill someone and imprison his allies, try to take his house that has his name at the top, Trump Tower, and all this other stuff, they're rarely going to be amenable to work with you in the future.
Well, you can't say don't take it personal when you've made it personal. It,
That's right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's just your home and everything you love.
Yeah,
I
you're,
hope
yeah,
we're cool.
yeah. Put your daughter on the stand, your son. Folks, men's wardrobes were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. You guys all look a mess. Here's where Rhone can help you out. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection. It offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos, and you never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. Why? Their comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility, so you're free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident without the hassle, because Rhone has wrinkle release technology. So that means wrinkles disappear as you stretch and you wear the products. It's just that easy. And there's even more. With their Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. Top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable. You can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. It's a great product at a reasonable price. Their commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to rhone.com/malice, RHONE.com/malice. Use promo code malice. You get 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/malice. Use code malice. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Hey folks, Michael Malice here. You might know me as a Twitter troll, terrible author, insufferable podcaster, but I'm also an underwear model, and the underwear that I model and wear every day is Sheath underwear. If you go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code Malice, you get 20% off and you can be inside my pants. Why I love Sheath is they have special dual pouch technology for both parts of your male anatomy. It sounds weird. The first time I tried them on, I'm like, what is this? And now I literally wear them every day. The great thing about Sheath, it was developed by an Iraq war veteran. And overseas, it gets really, really hot. And Bobby decided, all right, what can I do to make sure I'm not suffering here in this heat? And thanks to his research, you can be comfortable in the comfort of your own home. It's great for cold weather. It's great for hot weather. It keeps you secure and comfortable. And there's something really exciting about going on a job interview, going on a date, doing a podcast, knowing that your underwear has you in its grip, nice and secure and comfortable. Go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code Malice. You get 20% off, and you can get one step closer to looking as much like a hunk as myself. Let's get back to the show. I am just excited about the idea. I think a lot of people on the left are scared, but I think this time they're scared for the right reasons. Because
Sure.
I don't know if you saw this, but Bill Kristol, who is just a salt mine, was saying that he thinks Mitch McConnell is going to stop RFK from being HHS. And I'm
Mhm.
like, if you're at the point as a leftist, and Bill Kristol at this point is clearly a leftist, praying that Mitch McConnell saves you, you're in trouble, because there's a lot of bad things to say about Mitch McConnell. He's not a lefty in this context. He likes the war and he likes to
Yeah.
win, and he's really soulless.
And the only thing that he can stop is dead in his tracks when he has a frozen stroke. Like, that's
You
not a
know,
guy who I look at and think, boy, he's powerful.
well, Dave, he's so old. This sounds like a joke, and it's not. He's so old that he has polio.
Is this you serious?
Yes, this
I
is
didn't know
not
he
a
had.
punchline. He
So it
can't go
just
up this
came
like.
back.
What's that?
So it, so basically, his vaccine wore off. He's so old, and he has
No,
polio again.
he had it before the vaccine.
Oh right. Oh yeah. So they didn't need to. So he. Oh wow. So wow, I didn't know yet. I shouldn't be laughing this hard, but it's
You should be
hilarious.
laughing, because
Yeah.
I'm so old. If I told you I went on a date with someone and they're so old they have polio, that
Yeah.
sounds like a joke.
Well, it is a joke.
Right. But
It's
the point
terrible.
is, he can't go up the stairs. There was a video of Trump helping him up the stairs.
Is he going to be in a chair with a blanket over him all the time?
He's going to be in an iron lung.
Yes. Wow, that's impressive. I don't think you should be
Is
able to
it? Is that the
serve that
word?
long.
Is that the
Uh,
word?
terrifying, is that a better word?
Yeah.
Impressively terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not a sound mind and body, no offense to, all the people who are watching that have polio, which is absolutely no one else on earth.
Right.
So, like, dude, that's terrifying.
Yes. So I don't think
Oh,
Polio Mitch is gonna be the one to
Black
stop the Trump
plague
train.
and scurvy.
Um, what are your just thoughts? I'm also very excited because I think this was a big victory for podcasts and alternative media
Mhm.
over corporate media.
By far, because I have to give a lot of credit to Barron Trump, who obviously came up with this idea to go on Theo's podcast and start doing a podcast tour. Because what it did was it humanized him.
Yeah,
Because everybody didn't want you to humanize him, but a lot of times when somebody talks for 3 straight hours, they fall apart. You realize that they're all their flaws. He did the opposite. The longer he talked, you're like, oh, he has his brother was an alcoholic, and you found out more things about him that I thought made it way more personal. It was a massive benefit to him. And then people were not looking, I think, to the news to actually find out about either candidate.
yeah.
They were looking online, they were looking to podcasters, like you said, all alternative media. I think it's a massive benefit.
And I think this is something that's not going back because I talked to this Dave Smith, my friend who's the very failed comic, that if I'm a politician, why would it make sense for me to go on Rogan and make people feel like they know me? And the more people feel like they know me, the more they're going to vote for me, even if they disagree, than to go on 60 Minutes and have them butcher it up, even if it's in a positive sense. Like, like you could maybe, if I'm Kamala, the 60 Minutes interview is going to make a commercial for me. But there's a lot, if, as opposed to the other candidate, now everyone's in love with him, or at least feel like they're friends with him. That's a big advantage.
Oh yeah, and I mean they're also cutting out stuff from the 60-minute thing. You're finding that out. I mean, there's a really big inauthenticity now to anything that's sort of in that mainstream
Yep.
news. And the reality is in podcasts, there's an authenticity you have to succeed in it. And I think that's largely where Kamala failed. Like even Jen Psaki coming out and saying like, I think next time maybe we should do Rogan. It's like you don't need a team of people to tell you to do the number one podcast. That
Right.
shouldn't require anybody. You know the answer to do it. But it's the same as you're going to spend, what was it, $600,000 to build the I'm Your Daddy podcast inside of a hotel for
Was it that
Kamala
much?
to do? Yeah, it was some insane six-figure number. Yeah, wasted of her campaign.
Did you so I heard over the weekend something really, really, really great, which is apparently, and please correct me if I'm wrong because you'll know this better than I do because you're obviously good friends with this person. Oprah was paid a good amount of money to have Kamala on her show. She denied it. I think it was Megyn Kelly found the receipts, and then Oprah said, "Oh, I didn't get paid, but they had to pay for, like, my crew and the lighting." And it's like, you know what? That's not how it works. Like, when you interview someone, you pay for the crew, the lighting. But I also like how this shows how corrupt Oprah is, that I think she's literally a billionaire. How much money that do you need that you're gonna be like, "All right, like, I'll interview this hoe?"
Yeah. Well, Opes, as I call her, we go way back. She told me that, yeah, she took a little bit of money off the top, but look, I'll just say allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble. And she's very powerful. She kills way more people than you'd ever know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
and and
Like
tr and traffics all those kids.
She had most of Hawaii lit on fire. That was her. And I don't mean like she hired someone. I mean like she went out and did it.
In the same way that I reclaimed the R slur, I am excited to be on some show when her Bill Maher or something, it'll happen at some point, and her
Yeah.
name will come up. I'll be like, "I'm just so glad that we don't have to pretend to care what this fat old D has to say."
Oh,
And
that's lovely.
it was so great.
I mean, I don't know how much Ozempic costs, but she has to have enough money to keep this thing going for her, right?
Have you seen The Substance, by the way, speaking of Ozempic?
I did. I did. I saw it a couple nights ago.
I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. It's this for those who don't know, this is Demi Moore movie. It's basically and disagree with me if you want.
Mhm.
I think it's just basically like a Black Mirror episode that goes on for 2.5 hours,
It
right?
is. It's
Yeah,
extended, yeah.
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 So
So
the
they
premise of
added 47% of the movie to just be ass shots.
yeah.
So that's I think that's why it's so long.
So Demi Moore is an aging. like Hollywood starlet. She's got an exercise show. Like she's about to get canned, and she comes across this medicine, this thing called the substance, whatever it's called. It's the substance,
Yes.
and when you inject it into yourself, a younger, better version of you comes out your back, like literally, your back splits in half.
Literally, you hatch.
Yeah, and then that person you have to alternate. One of you's like in a coma for 7 days, and you have to alternate every 7 days, and hijinks ensue. And it was a brilliant premise, and the first 40 minutes I thought were excellent, but by the hour and a half, I'm like, "This needs to end," and in the last 40 minutes, I'm like, "This absolutely should be put out of its misery."
The last scene.
Well, the last section, yeah.
Okay. I liked, I don't know how much we can spoil, but I liked the idea of like I saw it at least in the way of like addiction is the way that
Oh,
I kind of viewed it,
sure.
where it was the complete monster taking over at the end.
Okay.
Like that's kind of how I thought, so I liked it. But it was, I mean, it was over the top. It was like Cronenberg, John Carpenter kind of level of gore, obviously. But I thought that it was interesting that it just created this hideous thing because she was so addicted to this particular substance, being young, what everybody thought of her. And what I did like about the movie was there was really there was no humanity to everything around her. Like every sign was just like dance show, I'm pretty, like there was no. And I thought Dennis Quaid as the agent was great too because he was just such a slob and just a money grubbing, hateful, awful person. So overall, I liked it. They could have cut out a lot of scenes. I mean, you get the point that this girl does not want to turn back into Demi Moore. It's very obvious when she's like sticking the syringe in and there's pus and then it just keeps going on and on. It got too far. But I thought as far as the end, I did like it because it was the most disgusting part of both of them taking over.
Well, first of all, the editing was excellent. The editing's like Run Lola Run, so I thought
Yeah,
it was really kinda clever in that
I love
regard.
that movie
But
too. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a shout out to my best friend, Steph, who went to high school together. So Steph has this very autistic thing. When she was a kid, you know how, like, there's parades, there's be someone dressed like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, so on and so forth, Goofy. If there's a show with someone in a dog costume, and the other characters are treating it as if it's a dog, this as a child enraged her because she's like, "How do they think that's a dog? That's clearly someone in a costume. Are they trying to trick me? They think I'm stupid." So, like, instead of being suspension of disbelief, she thought this was like very, very poor deception that she was clearly seeing through, which I love. But at one point in this movie, she there's a character that becomes a literal monster, right?
Mhm.
And this literal monster cuts out a paper face from a billboard, puts it on top of its face, and starts walking into this hall. And everyone's like, "Oh, hey," as if this literal monster with the face, just a paper cut out. Oh, it's the person on the face. And I was watching it with someone. They're like, "Is this like a dream sequence?" Like it makes no sense on any level.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really drove me crazy is one of the characters gets injured, and like Cronenberg, like you were saying, it's a fire hose of blood covering the audience, and it's like, this is literally like a swimming pool amount of blood coming out of this person. Like,
Oh,
this
even
makes
more. Yeah, it
yeah,
was like a lake of blood
yeah.
pouring into that auditorium.
It was just I'm like, "Okay, like, what is this? Like, am I supposed to believe that?" It bothered me.
I can see that when she did put on the mask, considering she has the same face growing out of her back, it's like you could have walked backwards.
Right.
But yeah, but that scene to me, I was trying to figure out what it was. If it was like this dream sequence, or the fact that she was just so miserable and like dead inside that was just the last thing she had to cover up the grotesque person she became was a mask. Like it was. It's weird when something tries to be metaphoric but also
Right.
literal at the same time, and I think that's where it was flawed.
Um,
It's not a perfect film, don't get me wrong, but I that scene, yeah, you could definitely take out.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, what am I looking at? It was so long. I was like, "Okay, I'm ready for this to end," at that point.
Yeah, you don't. No movie that's a horror movie really needs to go longer than like an hour 50. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the max to make something good. I think it obviously it goes different for drama and true stories, but like Cronenberg esque horror, you don't need it longer than 2 hours.
What do you think the next year is gonna look like? Let's get back to politics. Do you think there's going to be these Pussycat March meltdowns and people are going to be foaming at the mouth with TDS? Do you think it's going to be calmer? Do you think they're going to unleash another version of the Kung Flu? And this is the one that's really going to get us?
I see more masks at airports, so I have that fear all the time because I didn't believe the first one for a second. I mean, I knew you then. It just none of it was rational to me from the get go. And I'm a germaphobe, and I was flying the entire time, and it was all nonsense.
You're
So,
patient zero.
yes, I was the one who. I went to Wuhan, and then I had a layover, but
Typhoid Landau, yeah.
yeah. What are you gonna do? I don't know. Yeah, when I go there, I like to go to wet markets and get bananas. But um, so I think in the next year, things might shift to be better. Honestly, I do. I think that you see this sort of comedy boom beginning to happen
Yep.
again. You see a lot of people that are just kind of tired of all of it. I think that that goes for the media as well, and I think for me, I'm hopeful because I don't know. I'm blanking on his name. The guy with the "We the People" tattoo on his arm, who kind of took over for like Veterans Affairs
I don't know who you're
or
referring
for
to.
Trump's cabinet.
I'm not sure who you're referring to. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know who I'm blanking on. But man, anyway, I fought the VA now for uh, God, 20 years, and especially in the last 9. So I'm very, very hopeful that I can finally get something done, especially since I found all like my dad's VA papers and everything that I needed.
Yeah,
Because
for
they've
people
just,
who don't know, Dave served in Vietnam.
I did. I was in Da Nang. I was taking out zipper heads right and left and burning down villages.
It was
I was
easy for him
actually,
to infiltrate because he was their size. He just wore the little hat, and they
yeah,
could tell.
I just wore a rice crop hat and I would
Yeah,
infiltrate the villages. It was pretty good.
and then just take the hat off. They're like, "Who's this little lesbian? Where'd she come from?"
Yeah, I got court-martialed for baby stabbing. It was those were the days. That's
It's
how I got hooked
ridiculous.
on
Decapitation
grass.
isn't stabbing. I didn't stab anybody.
Yeah, it's like I want to see. Yeah, I just want to see some. I think it's going to change for the better. I hope. I mean, and honestly, I'm one of the bleakest, most black-pilled people I know, but I think that there's a chance that this gets better as long as we see results that are being promised. I
I
think
am
if people
right.
see those, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm hopeful about two things. One is people might not remember this, but first quarter of 2020, Trump looked like a shoe-in to get reelected. It was like a given he was going to get reelected, or maybe end of 2019, whatever that whole window before COVID. I think in terms of what I'm excited about is I think the economy is going to go through the roof. I think people are really going to businesses are going to be excited to expand. People are going to be able to open their own businesses. They know this is going to be the most business friendly president since the 45th president. And to have Elon and Vivek, who I trust Elon's judgment more than I trust Trump's, because Trump, and this isn't even anything against him, Reagan is the same way. A good CEO, he gets smart people, he gives them divisions to run, he's the big picture guy. They come in, do their job well, and then he gets all the credit for it. That sounds like very Trumpian, right? So
Yes.
it's like Elon, go do this, and then it's like, all right, brilliant. Look at this. Look what I came up with. I'm concerned that they're going to have some big falling out because they both have
Oh,
big egos.
yeah.
That's a concern of mine. But if Trump does the classic CEO thing, it's like, you guys, this is your wheelhouse, because I don't think he cares. Trump, I don't think he's got he doesn't care about any he cares about veterans. I think he cares about the
I think he
military, he
does.
cares about immigration, and keeping taxes kind of business friendly. Other than that, it's like go cut everything. I don't think he's going to really butt heads with them on any of the recommendations. So that's something I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I think Trump's I guess you could say the most passionate thing about him would be building a better economy, making things cost less, and bringing back jobs to America while protecting the border. I mean, I think that's his main objective. I think the benefit of having Vivek and especially Elon is they're going to see a lot more than just that.
The
And
Go ahead.
what that may be, I don't know, but I think, but you're right. There is a chance that there's a very good chance that they butt heads. But
I'm not yeah.
I'm very excited about the potential of it. I mean, and I also like JD Vance. I don't know how much power he'll really have in that place, but I actually, when I saw him debate and go out, I didn't know much about him. I had never read or seen Hillbilly Elegy. I think it's good that he has kind of his finger on the pulse of what's going on
Yeah.
with big pharma. That's a massive benefit, because even the most recent, the largest sorry, not opioid, fentanyl bust ever, just happened in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happened in coming over the Canadian border, and then when you look at it, the amount of it's only like this big. I mean, it almost looks like a brick of weed, but that stuff's so deadly that this amount coming into the country is it's horrifying. So whatever kind of can get us away from that, because there is just these drugs out there that are just killing everybody, and stuff is way underprescribed, so doctors can protect themselves. And I think we have to get back to a normal business of it, where you're not just being forced to take stuff while being told you can't have something you actually need.
Pure exploitation, ineptly made, and completely repulsive.
Hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait.
And I'm Sean McKittrick.
And Zero Stars is our podcast where we look at our bad reviews and
The bad reviews of anybody who will join us here. Michael McKean, Eddie Wong.
Welcome, Eli.
Feels like a film that's shown up to the party over a decade after it ended.
listen to, follow, rate, and review Zero Stars now. Do my bidding. And you can do that wherever you get your podcast.
Let's get back to the show. Something I want to hear your biggest fear about next year, but mine is this, and people argue with me a little bit about on Twitter, and I don't think they were wrong. I think Trump has this vision of mass deportations. He said this publicly, and even though these foreign trespassers are here illegally, there is an entire legal system and nonprofits who will fight tooth and nail to make sure these people aren't going anywhere. Governor Pritzker of Illinois explicitly said, like, you're not taking our undocumented immigrants, which was, in those words, I couldn't believe he was that explicit. He wasn't saying, oh, we owe them, they're trying to get our life. He's like, nope, these are our undocumented immigrants. So people went back to me and goes, well, let the courts enforce these rulings. It's like, if the president says one thing and the courts say another, these agencies aren't just going to ignore the court ruling and do what the president says. So I think and also the press is going to make as much noise about this as possible. As soon as oh my God, this abuela was deported and her granddaughter and blah 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 blah. Every day sob story, sob story, sob story. And I think the visuals of that might really hit Karen, who wants everything to be nice and not problematic. That might be something I am concerned about. And people said, okay, just have e-verified people self-deport. I'm not arguing with that at all. I'm just saying, if he does go for these mass deportations, it's not going to be simple. There's going to be massive pushback because there's huge amounts of people who have vested interest in having these migrants here. Because if there wasn't, they wouldn't be here.
Well, no, and the cost of getting them out, people have to look at as well as the cost of them coming in. I mean, it's going to be very expensive, and it's going to detract from things that also have to be done, if that's the main objective of what he's doing. So it could be very expensive and take a very long time. And yeah, that's definitely a fear.
I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying people who think it's going to be snapping his fingers, they're completely. This is the one where people are going to dig their heels. This is going to be if they're going to pick a fight on any of the issues, this is going to be the one they pick, in my opinion.
Well, and my Mexican friends, the one that I have, he lives in my house. He works very cheap. He brings me coffee. But every Mexican person I talk to is worried because the ones that are working on their green card and are almost there, they don't want to be mixed in and taken out. And I think that that fear is it's very sincere and very realistic.
Any other big concerns about the?
I always have that concern of war. I think obviously he's proved in the past that he's pretty good. I mean, when you go into demilitarized zones and start talking to people that are dictators, I think it's I liked that a lot about him in the first time around. I really did. But I always do worry that there is something else rising, and there's always this ability for there to be a war. Even not even necessarily a world war, but I think there is a potential of that, especially if we're taking stuff out of China who technically kind of owns our dollar. And I know that we're ideally shifting to Bitcoin, but I don't know how realistic that is either. Um, Not that we are necessarily, I just mean away from fiat currency. I think a lot of people that have invested their money, their fiat money and that sort of thing, I think that they could be in for giant losses at times, especially with Elon in there. And not that they will, but I mean it's a thought. So I think we could watch a booming economy or potentially the collapse of the dollar.
I don't know how true this is because I saw headlines, and you can't read too much of the headlines, that Qatar was kicking out the people from Hamas who were the leadership who were staying there. I'm hopeful, not optimistic, but hopeful that he builds on these Abraham Accords and brings some kind of stability to the Middle East, because I had underestimated to what extent a lot of these moderate Muslims are sick of like the Taliban, Hamas kind of shit, and they're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, like, fine, we hate Jews, that's one thing, but like, we don't need people blowing up in our towns and so on and so forth. Let's cut the shit out. And they're not friends of Iran, to put it mildly. So that is something I'm hopeful that he could sit them all down and be like, okay, let's figure something out moving forward to bring some kind of stability here.
Well, yeah, so many of these people live in, they're advanced people. I mean, in the 70s they were actually more progressive than they are now,
Yeah.
and now they're being surrounded by a Stone Age mentality that
Yeah.
kind of needs to just go away.
Yeah. So that's something
And
I'm excited about.
yeah,
Folks, head on over to malice.locals.com where Dave took questions from supporting listeners. Where are your next dates that people can catch you?
when does this air?
Wednesday, so in 2 days.
Okay. You can catch me the 23rd at the Premier Center in Clinton Township,
New
Michigan.
Jersey? Oh, Michigan,
What's
okay.
that?
Michigan?
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, Michigan. And then the 21st, I'll be at Mic Drop Comedy in Plano. And let's see. Then also, most importantly, at the end of the month, I'm doing a thing in Alpharetta, Georgia. It is a benefit for veterans.
Yeah,
100% of it goes to veterans. I'm not taking a dollar. I'm paying my own way out there. My uncle is running it.
wonderful.
Well, I call him my uncle, but yeah, he was one of my dad's good friends who fought for the VA for him. I call him.
Well, I'm laughing. What I think is the funniest skit I've ever seen. There was something called Brett Gelman's Dinner with Friends. Did you
Yeah,
ever see this?
I think so.
So the premise is Brett Gelman has a bunch of celebrities playing themselves. Gilbert Gottfried was one of them. And at one point he says, all right, let's cut the crap. Let's open up to each other. But they're like, we've got cameras. He goes, well, cut the cameras. And there's hidden cameras. And they're all confessing these insane things. Like Gilbert Gottfried's like, I had a chance to meet my birth father and I never did. And now it's too late. And I forget the guy's name, but he goes, when I was a kid, I was molested by my uncle. Although I guess at the time I thought of him as my boyfriend as well. So when you said I call him my uncle, I'm like, oh,
It's hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm doing this big benefit for a guy who molested me. It's coming up at the end of the month. Yeah, but
I'm
it's
not taking time, but he's taking my soul.
yes. He won't give me any money. I just go there for some reason because it's built into my brain that I have to do what he says. It's great.
Hey, when they teach you something when you're 5, it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want him to kill my brother. That was like a very serious threat.
By the way, for people who've never seen Dave stand up, he does this. It feels like 10 minutes. It might not. It might be one,
Yeah.
but this bit about the someone bullying you, and you
Mhm.
guys throw a brick at him, and I
Yeah.
don't forget how you put it, but it's just this amazing, amazing bit.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And
That really
real.
happened, yeah.
Yeah, it was real. Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
Yeah.
So you also must be super stoked about the future of comedy now, because I feel like your brand and your world's type of comedy has been completely vindicated by this election.
Dude, I feel really good about it. Like even when people were going at Hinchcliffe for
Yeah.
the Trump thing. I mean, look, I think it's good that it's out there. I think it's good that more comedy's coming out where people are less and less offended. And you have the right to be offended and you have the right to not be offended. You don't have to like what I do. It doesn't matter. But I think the idea of I hate the term woke and I hate the term cancel culture, but they were very real. And I think maybe that's what I hate about both of them. The idea that that can kind of go away, unless you count like the extremes of it, for when it's deserved, but it's not for language. And I think that's what's nice now, is that I feel like there's a freedom. I mean, when you have Justine Bateman talking about how it's nice to not walk on eggshells after 4 years, I mean, how do you think comics and yourself and other people feel? I
Yeah.
think it's a relief for a lot of people.
Alex got to her.
Yeah.
Dave, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
Behind you have the outfit from my first stand-up special.
Do you know what that outfit actually is?
No.
You are welcome.
Did you know you can watch all your favorite crime shows for free on Pluto TV?
Totally free?
Totally free. They've got CSI New York, NCIS, Criminal Minds, Blue Bloods, Tracker, FBI, SWAT, all for free.
There's something suspicious going on here.
Nothing suspicious. Just hundreds of free crime shows. On Pluto TV, crime never pays, and neither do I.
Pluto TV.
Stream now, pay never.